Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome back to KGX to the Z TV. Appreciate everybody checking in. Uh, Chelsea won, Arsenal won. Last match before the international break. Last match in our most difficult run of the season. Right, you had Old Trafford before this. Before that, it was Newcastle, and then before that, it was Anfield. So if you are looking at it from the standpoint of we got out of that October break, right? Yeah, hit that like, hit that thumbs up. We got out of that October break, and everyone on paper looked at the schedule and said, "All right, we get past this, we can see what kind of team we have." And I think we're starting to kind of see that a little bit, right? Obviously, because of our youth and inexperience, we are capable of fluctuating, and we'll see that in performances. We saw that Palace at home this year. But then, we played relatively well at Anfield. And then we've seen our away form before that, right? Wolves, um, you know, beat a pretty decent a Brighton side that just beat Man City. Um, and you're starting to see trademarks, right? And you're starting to see, okay, no, we're far off from the title race, right? Even in a season where we're probably not going to see 93, 94, 95 points, right? Just too far gone. Even though Liverpool started very, very well, at some point you just expect a natural dip, right? You can't, to keep up that pace, which they've done it before, credit to them, but to keep up that pace is I think it takes a lot out of a team, especially when you're also going in with a deeper and more fixture congested Champions League this year with the new style and things like that. But yeah, it's we're definitely far off the pace when it comes to that, right? That's consistency week in and week out. Even though this year folks haven't been too consistent as of late, right? But that's still that's still a level above us, right? So going into this one, I said on paper, I'd take a point and a good performance, right? Not I don't expect to dominate Arsenal going into this one. I didn't, that even though we're the home side, Arsenal's still right. 2 years in a row, they've been legit title challengers. We know the kind of squad they have, the systems in place. They're very well acquainted, in their play style, right? 5 years into their process. I said, yeah, I would have taken a point and a decent performance, and at the end of the day, that's what we got, right? We had spells where we looked very good, especially in that first half, where we were really controlling, we were creating some chances. Couldn't get down on the end of some crosses from Neto, and then the ones we did get on the end of Gusto, just at the back post, just misses, right? And I know we didn't even get into the lineups because we got right into the game, but that was the big call was Cucurella came back in at left back, which meant that either Gusto or James was going to drop to the bench, and he dropped James. Fair play, the captain. Um, when I first saw it, my immediate thought was, "Shit! I hope Reece didn't pick up a knock in training, right? I hope he's okay." But Reece came on later, looked fine. Maybe he couldn't go 90. Maybe they're still managing his minutes and things like that. Hopefully, I haven't seen the England squad, but hopefully he's not on it. For selfish reasons, I know, but for his health, I think England will be there for him, especially if he plays the way he's played. That so far that we've seen him look like he's getting back to his, it's kind of a little bit of his old self, but then also morphing into whatever kind of player he's going to be in this new system. But that was the big call, and there were definitely some moments where I was like, you know what, I would. A ball came to Gusto. He had a couple shots. He had that header at the back post, and I'm like, that's Reece James. He's probably finishing one of those, right? We've seen him finish before. He's big, strong, physical. It was a relatively speaking, easy header, right? You expect a professional, especially a professional of the level of, you know, French and international, under 21, um, Chelsea starting right back for the majority of last season. I'd expect any player out there to finish that. And he didn't. Fofana got on the end of one that he could have finished early in the second half. He didn't. Although it's very difficult, right? Like he scores that goal, it is a great goal, especially from a center back. Shout out to Fofana. He played very well throughout. Marshall, Havertz, they going forward for them, they didn't do too much. But they did have some spells. They did have, obviously Odegaard coming back. I knew Odegaard. I knew Rice was going to be there. Match sort of so all of a sudden, you go into that match before and you're like, all right. I mean, Odegaard's still probably not 100% full fitness, and he probably still isn't. In fairness to him, but you also have Rice who missed out on the trip to Inter, and there was rumors of him playing with a broken foot and all this other BS. Then the lineup comes out, and that's probably their strongest 11, right? People would argue Calafiori for Timber, but I think depending on who's out there, if you're playing up against a winger like Madueke, yeah, I'd definitely rather have Timber. Timber fared decent. Madueke did get a lot of crosses in, just couldn't get folks on the end of it. I know a lot of the talk after the match will be on Madueke and, kind of his body language and things like that. But, I mean, he beat him to the byline. He had a couple shots. One was blocked. One he just almost put out for a corner. But he was getting into positions that Arsenal's got a very good defense, right? It takes something special to beat them. And we got that with Neto, right? Neto moved up to the right-hand side when Madueke came off. Mudryk went onto the left. And Enzo came on for Lavia, so we definitely got a little bit more on the front foot, which means that we were going to concede some control into it, and that'll play into it a little bit later, especially towards the end of the game. But Enzo gets on the ball, he finds, they give him time and space, and if you give him time and space, he's going to pick out a pass. I mean, for all his liabilities, all his inadequacies when it comes to being up to the level of physicality in the Premier League, where everyone is strong, everyone can run, everyone can sort of shield and kind of get out of situations, not only technically but also to use a little bit of muscle or a little bit of pace and power. But fairness to him, he gave him space, he picked him out, fed Neto in. You always give a ball, the inverted wingers, you give them a ball that they can run onto. He takes one good touch and just unleashes it. And Raya's probably been up there, top 2, top 3 keepers, and arguably number 1, of the season so far. And he beats him comfortably at sort of at the near post too. So just credit to Neto, right? He looked very dangerous. Looked very direct. He's very old PES term for folks that been playing PES. He's very janky, right? Like he could jink in and jink out. Kind of can cross on both feet, but he always wants to get back to his left majority of times. But yeah, he looked very dangerous. He looked very dangerous when he came on versus United. Even Mudryk, got into some positions today. He's looking like, definitely not worth what we paid, but he's looking improved. I'll say that, right? Which is nice, right? And take time with him. But defensively, I thought we were good. Caicedo was fantastic as usual, putting tackles in, being physical. I love the Conte comparisons. Obviously, he's not of Conte's level, right? Conte was just probably the best ball winner ever so far, right? Like, just prime Conte was just incredible, right? And then he sort of morphed into someone who could actually go forward a little bit and things like that. But yeah, he's much more. He's definitely not as good and as quick He has his appetite though. He definitely has Conte used to rack up a lot of yellows because he was just chomp 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 always on someone's ankles. And Caicedo's like that too, and probably even worse because Caicedo puts in some. Conte usually didn't put any nasty ones in. Caicedo will leave it on you. Um, but he was fantastic today, breaking up play. He was everywhere. I remember he got on the end of one errant cross like in the second half, late on the right hand flank, right outside the box, and kind of brought it back and controlled play. Fofana was excellent. Correa was very very good on Saka. Um, Gusto was pretty decent defensively. I thought he had his moments. The goal that we conceded was poor. He was the closest defender, but he also I'm assuming he was thinking that he had Madueke covering him on the back post, and Madueke was jogging back. But I'm assuming because they didn't have too many guys in the box. I think it was Martinelli and then maybe Marino right in front of him or somebody, and everyone kind of stopped because they thought he was offside, and even Martinelli kind of like paused. This is like a tiny millisecond, and then beat Sanchez near post, which I don't know. I'm always conflicted on because I'm like, you should never get beat near post, but it was also a very crazy place shot. Like he's very nice. Like he just put it in a position that most goalkeepers are going to try probably go low to get down there to cover the post, and then they're going to use their arms, so you can't see it. But this whole space right here is kind of left open, and this space right here, he put it right there with pace, power, and precision. Fair play to Martinelli. Didn't think he was had a good game, and he's been pretty stinky for the last 18 months, but he popped up when it mattered, got him the goal. And then we responded, right? We responded 10 minutes later with the Neto goal, that we talked about. But it was like I said, a good response, and we've shown heart and we've shown resilience that way. Unfortunately, we've shown the opposite too, where we score and then we concede. But this time, we definitely rode our luck at the end, right? We know Trossard leaves that if he gets a shout from Havertz, or if he gets better connection on it, right? Everyone's always like, "Oh, you took it off of Havertz." I mean, he opens his body up, he just completely skews it, and it just takes it off track for Havertz, and Havertz doesn't get his moment in the sun, because we thought it was bad when he scored that goal that was rightly ruled offside. Whew, he would have been on smoke if he would have got that tap in at literally the last kick of the game. Oh my God. Even thinking about that right now has me, oh man. Yeah, that that is not a good feeling, but yeah, overall, like I said, I think both teams deserve the draw. I think I saw the sets both sides. They had a little bit more possession. We had a little bit higher XG. Both had 3 shots on target. I think we had more shots in total, but not Havertz, Palmer that really tested Raya early with that shot that I think he tipped off or saved off the post. But yeah, quiet game for Cole. He's got to pick it up. I wonder how fit he really was. Like I'm hoping that by playing him the 90 that he was better than that we were just keeping him out of training as a precautionary thing. And I know he probably missed. Maybe he did some light training because the majority of the team, or a lot of the team, was away in the Champions League match, or Champions League Conference League match. But yeah, I'm hoping we didn't put him. They'll probably monitor him, see how he feels, see if it swells up and things like that. I think I saw the air cast on him on IG or something like that. But I was wondering, I was like, man, maybe if he's not 100%, or he hasn't been training, throw Zhao on there. Palmer wasn't having the best game. He had a couple touches that inside the box where he had an opportunity to get a shot off that were a little heavy and wayward, and one of them caused, I think he ended up getting blocked. But I was like, look, you wanted Zhao, like, even though you didn't want him, you got him. He's a very talented offensive player. Regardless of what people think, he actually does he does, like, he works a lot more on the defensive side than people think, right? People always just think he's a flair and flip player, and he kind of mails it in on the inside, but he works hard. He puts in some nasty challenges because he's not very good at tackling, but he at least he at least will run, close down angles and things like that. So I thought he could have came on. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Palmer and either Felix or Palmer and Nkuku in a 10 underneath Jackson, or Nkuku at the front with Palmer and Felix underneath. And that's the one thing I was thinking about that earlier, a little bit earlier, and I was like, we have the depth to rotate players, right? Or like to completely rotate aside. Play 111 in one match competition, play another 11 in another competition. Does that? We know it benefits it because you have the depth, and you can cover for injuries, knock on wood, and things like that. And you get to acclimate your players to that particular system, all of your players, in the best testing environment there is, and that's a match. Is that worth the trade-off of maybe you're not as deep, so you have to play a couple of first-team players in the Conference League or in the Carabao Cup so that you can build that same chemistry, but with players that are going to be with the first team should those quote-unquote B team players need to actually step in. So I wouldn't mind it too, because I'm like, some of these guys, like, if the goal is to make top four, which is the goal this year, right? And then that's to qualify for the Champions League. You're going to be playing your best players, the majority of them, twice a week. So what are we trying to do? Like, are we trying to whittle the squad down a little bit more and identify? Because we got some players coming in next year too, right? And who knows what will happen in the summer, but I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't definitely in the Carabao Cup, Conference League. All right, everyone always says, "Oh, the big guns are all out." Like we didn't really activate them. But I think you have the opportunity to name a new squad once the tournament kind of phase starts, just like in the Champions League. If you get a player that returned from injury or something like that, you have the ability to name a new competition squad for whatever European competition you're in. So I wouldn't have minded that, though, just to see some continuity, just to see how they would play. Like, I'd like to see how Felix would play with Jackson, because you might get called upon at some point, right? And I know it's so early, like we're like 10, 11 games in, so it's it's probably too much, right? Hyperbole by me a little bit, but I would like to see a little bit of that sort of continuity among first team players, right? And to kind of leave some of those other competitions, kind of start to incorporate those folks. I know I just said it the reverse right now, but incorporate some of those first team players into those, so folks can kind of get used to playing with the larger group of players, and things like that. So we'll see. But yeah, international break coming up. Maybe we'll do a review. Maybe take it positionally by video pause, and do the keepers, do the defenders, do the midfielders, attackers, and so forth, all that stuff. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll definitely need to get some more content out. Appreciate everybody. As always, up the Chelsea. Peace.